50, I say. No more, no less. The old guy shuffles on his feet. Our eyes don't meet. He thinks I'll pay more if he keeps quiet. I clock the chair. Joe will love renovating it, but it can't be worth more than 70. I slap 5 notes on the shop counter and close the till. It's worth more, the old man says. It's special. Really? In what way? I lean back, waiting. There's always some story. How his grandmother gave birth in it in 1872, or how it saved a life in the Blitz in the Second World War. Yeah, right. Oddly, the man doesn't reply. There's a dog at his feet. A skinny greyhound lying on the floor. A hiss comes from somewhere behind me and the dog jumps up, tail between its legs. It moves backwards with a whimper. The man looks at the dog, the chair, and grunts. "Okay, is yours," he says. He snatches up the money. He casts another glance at the chair, almost with regret, and there's another hiss. The dog tugs at its leash. They go, the shop doorbell jangling as the doors swing shut. "That's a fine chair." I'm talking to the cat. She steps forward and sniffs where the dog was sat. "Joe would like this one." It's tall and straight, with a solid back, but heavily scratched. The velvet seat pad is a relic from the 1970s, attached with rusty studs. Half the fabric is faded more than the other, as if it's lived in a neglected corner, in and out of the daylight. The cat looks at me as if to say I'm a fool, and why did I allow a dog in here in the first place? Easily fixed, I say. The cat blinks. She slips onto the stairs that lead to our flat on the first floor, and I lift the chair into Joe's workshop. "It's fab," says Joe. "Got real character. Must be at least 200 years old." "Good," I say. That makes a change. My purchases are never good enough. She sets to, renovating it with gusto. "Pass me those pliers," she says. "Ah!" She snatches a hand and sucks her thumb. A nail is buried in her skin. "Geez, how did you do that?" "I don't know. I couldn't see any nails on that bit." I wince as she pulls the nail out. More blood flows. "I'll get you a plaster." By the end of the day, the chair gleams with polish. The scratches have gone. The seat has a new fabric stapled to its pad. Joe puts it in the shop window where it glows yellow in the afternoon sun. "Perfect," she says. "I don't want it sat on. I don't want a single mark on that fabric, not even a fingerprint." She's like that, gloriously bossy. "Molly doesn't like that chair," I say. "Have you noticed she won't sit on it, which is odd because she loves that spot in the window." "She's just being funny," says Joe, contrary like cats are. "You wait. Once the sun swings round, she'll be up there like a shot." But she's not. Instead, Molly sits on the round table at the far end of the shop, the one with the granite lamp base. The next day, she's on the bookcase behind the till, but not the chair, even when the sunlight warms the cushion. Later, Joe places a ceramic pot on the chair, with a spider plant that likes the heat. But after only a week, it dies, shrivelling to a paper brown. The chair doesn't sell. A month later, I move it from the window to the corner in the shadows, and the cat stares at it for at least an hour, her pupils round and black. There's a movement. She lowers her head. Her body sinks to the ground, and her tail swishes from left to right. A mouse leaps from the yellow seat, and the cat bounces. There's a tiny shriek, a snap of teeth. The cat bites the creature's head off, and bones crack. Half an hour later, I find the severed tail under a table, curled like a dead worm. I scoop it up with a tissue, along with the bloodied head, and chuck it in the bin. "No, I want it there." Joe's in a mood. She indicates the counter. "There's no space." I keep my tone reasonable. There's an elderly couple browsing the shop, and I hate it when people see us arguing. "I think we should show it off." I position the letter rack by the door, angling it to catch the light. "No," says Joe, "it's my shop." That grates. Yeah, technically it's her shop, but it's been my hard work. She grabs the letter rack and puts it on the counter. "People will say it when they pay." "No, they won't. It's too dark." "Exactly. Makes the mahogany gleam." "Bitch," I mutter under my breath. The elderly couple look startled and leave the shop. There's no point with arguing with Joe when she's like this. I need to bide my time. "Any takers for that chair?" "Nope." I speak with satisfaction. I don't like it anymore. There's something about it that feels off. I reckon it's too tall, the legs too short. Maybe that's because people were smaller back in its day. Rubbish, it's perfect. She sits down, testing it out. See? I laugh. You look like a stunted dwarf. That's not very nice. She's upset now. That's not the normal Joe. You bought it, she snaps. So, it's taken up valuable selling space. It's had its chance. It's going in the attic. I lift it out. Joe looks tearful. She really likes the stupid thing. The burglary was horrendous. We lost all the jewellery stock and the cash from the till. We'd sold an antique armoire that day, so it was quite a lot. I reckon the burglars knew. They weren't interested in the furniture, though. Too difficult to move. They went for the easy, portable stuff, after smashing everything else. Even the granite lamp base broke in two. Then they sprayed the walls a lurid red until the shop looked like the set of a horror movie. Bloody vandals. The police, all of us, were shocked. There's a light on downstairs. It shines up the stairwell. I roll onto my front, reaching with a groan for the empty pillow. Joe? She must be working, I think. Even though it's what? I check the clock. 3 a.m. Jesus, Joe. My breathing slows. My limbs are like lead. I drift off to sleep again. The doorbell goes, jangling in the dark. It's one of those old-fashioned brass springs, and I picture it leaping like a startled frog. I open my eyes. The light's still on, and the bed's empty beside me. I sit up. Who'd come to the shop at this time of night? Besides, everything's locked up, isn't it? A slew of rain blows against the window, and the street lights flicker. I can't have slept more than a few minutes. Joe? I sit up. The clock's ticking fills the room. The smaller bell on the counter sounds with a gentle ping, demanding. Fuck's sake. I fumble for my jeans. Barefooted, I descend the stairs. Halfway down, I peer into the shop. There's no one there, only the large and small shadows that fill the shop floor. The empty coat rack stands by the entrance, and the door's wide open, rain scattering onto the doormat. Is that you? I run to the door and search up and down the street. Joe! She's always slept lightly. Ever since the shop got burgled, me too. My pulse starts to race. I scan the shop, looking at the familiar shapes, anything that might move, or an unexpected breath of warm air floating in the cold. Nothing. No one. But the light's on in the back room, a lamp pointing onto Joe's workplace. Its small pool of white highlights her tools. A shape is hunched on the stool. Not funny, Joe. Go back to bed, she says. Her voice is barely a whisper, husky and intent. I hesitate, then climb the stairs. Are you there? It's night again. I can hear Joe in the attic. It's where we keep the items not yet sold, junk from car boot sales or house auctions, people whose relatives had died, leaving all that stuff. That's almost the worst thing about losing a loved one, dealing with their stuff. For people like us, that is, up there in the attic, it's an Aladdin's cave. But it's not Joe. I remember now, it can't be because she's gone away. It's just me. The shop is quiet downstairs, and here in the bedroom there's only the sound of the wind whistling through the sash windows until I hear it again. A creaking of floorboards over my head. A scraping, as if a piece of furniture is being moved, and a thump, like someone sitting down. I can't sleep. Outside, the storm roars across the street. The gate to the house opposite bangs to and fro again and again until I want to run outside and wrench the thing off its hinges. Bang! Is that the gate? Or something down in the workshop? Or in the attic? I was up there earlier, searching for that damn chair. It haunts my every moment. I need to get rid of it. I couldn't find it, though. I keep thinking how Joe sat on it just before the burglary. I'd known, hadn't I? We'd gone to the museum in Thirsk, years ago, when we were nearly married. One of those trips where she dragged me round all the antique shops and then the Museum of Folklore and Antiquities. For her, it was heaven. On the first floor was a chair, hanging from the ceiling. It was an odd way to display a piece of furniture, suspended against gleaming white walls, dangling by a single rope. Busby's stoop chair, I'd read the card on the wall underneath. Allegedly haunted by the spirit of Thomas Busby, hanged in 1702 for the murder of his father-in-law after a disagreement over money. Charming, said Jo, craning her neck. Did they do that deliberately, make it look like a hanged body? Maybe, I laughed. Says here he cursed the chair so that anyone who used it would later die. Guess that's why they don't want anyone to sit on it, just in case. Except it isn't the actual chair. Jo nudged my arm. Can't be. Look, it's a spindle chair, machine-turned. She pointed, ever the know-all. And the oak's too pale. Anything that old would be much darker. I wonder if the staff realise. I wonder where the real chair is. I stared at it, the way it spun slowly in the light, half-cocked like a newly opened smoking gun. Come on, that's enough antiquities for one day. Fancy the cafe? Jo grinned, and we headed downstairs. But it stayed in my head, that chair. Next morning, when I open up shop, Mum's waiting on the doorstep. About time, she says. We should have opened an hour ago. Yeah, sorry. I pushed my hand through my hair. Look at the state of you. You can't go on like this. She breezes into the shop with her wheelie shopping bag, making straight for the tiny kitchen. I hover in the doorway, unable to get through, and watch as she fills the kettle. Can't understand why you carry on with this place. I mean, what's the point now she's gone? God knows why you married her. I mean, you didn't need to. Far be it for me to speak out of turn, but honestly, Daniel, your father and I did try to warn you. I don't answer. I mean, what can I say? Mum never got over me and Jo getting married. She didn't like Jo, and she didn't understand the benefits. It was Jo's shop. I've always loved this shop. When are you going to sell it? I don't know how you can stand it after the burglary and all, she says. The state of the place, the way they ran off, leaving Jo to bleed to death, the way they killed her right under your nose. She winces at the word kill, as if regretting the blunt reminder to me, her son, of the loss of my dear wife. Sorry, love. Mum comes to a stop. I could have phrased that better. She's not wrong, though. Our marriage was a disaster. It was the shop that kept us together. I think of all the arguments between us, the fights. I think of the way she treated me like bloody staff. Everything. Just because she owned the shop, because it was hers, not ours. I think of the spray paint I threw in the canal, and the granite lamp base that once stood on the table. How it broke in two, one piece still in my hand, the other matted with her hair and blood, rolling on the floorboards next to my wife's head. It's all right, Mum, I sigh. You're probably right. I won't sell the shop. Not after all I've done. There's no way I'm going to sell it. It was her dream. And mine. For years. It was her own fault. There's a rush of cold air from the attic hatch over the top stairs. I remember the old man and his dog. His keenness to sell that chair. It's still up there. I know it is. Hiding. Skulking, waiting to find a new home, after I've sat on it. I told her, I mutter, teeth grinding, but my mother isn't listening. Don't sit on that chair.